Hello there, gamers, and welcome to another edition of Random News of Gaming, the gaming news show that rounds up all the important stuff that happened over the past month without going on endlessly about the stuff you don't care about. Probably. Hopefully. Maybe. But hey, it's the first month of the new year, so hopefully it'll start with some good gaming news, right? Oh, who am I kidding? But anyway, don't forget to check out my Top Games of 2023 video that came out a couple weeks ago. It was a good year for games last year, for sure, and I played a pretty wide variety of things that may have something that'll interest you. With that out of the way, let's get into the garbage of January. Once again, we have another month filled with a lot of layoffs, with Microsoft laying off nearly 2,000 employees in the Xbox and Activision Blizzard teams, Unity slashing 25% of its workforce because of course, Riot Games cutting 530 employees as well, and Embracer gutting Eidos Montreal and cancelling a new Deus Ex game in the works. Just another day in the games industry. And I don't want to linger on this topic too long because while it does get covered a lot throughout the games media, it doesn't really matter to us that actually play the games as much as you might think. This isn't an issue that's exclusive to the games industry after all. We're really only aware of it because gamers are constantly online. You should be keeping it in mind if you want to be an actual game developer though, as you will likely be used, chewed up, and spit out constantly, which is partly why I'm not one, just saying. But let's talk about the headline of the month, Palworld. Holy shit, this game exploded when it came out. Well, I use the term came out loosely because it's incomplete as of now. Despite that, over 8 million people have bought into the early access version in the first week, while some sources claim it's like 20 million now, which is kind of nuts to think about. Clearly there's a big market for something that's like Pokemon but isn't the same slop the Pokemon company has been churning out on such a frequent basis. It should be kind of a wake-up call to them, but instead, the fans of Pokemon, at least the fanboys of Nintendo and Pokemon on the internet, have been going out of their way trying to get this game shut down out of jealousy? Spite? I don't know. But they've been endlessly complaining about and reporting this game for plagiarism, even though they really don't have any direct evidence of such a thing, just speculation. Seems retarded to me. Oh well. Keep in mind that this game has been known about for like 3 years, and it's made by a Japanese indie studio, so if there were any plans for Nintendo to take action, they would have done so by now. I've seen a lot of people try and compare the designs of the pals to a certain Pokemon, and look, even though a lot of them have similar features, it's not enough to make a case. Plus, if you've been a fan of Pokemon for long enough, you've probably sat down and tried to design your own Pokemon, right? I know I did when I was a kid. But considering that there are now over 1,000 of them, no matter what you do, you're going to have similarities no matter how hard you try. And consider that many Pokemon designs are basic as fuck. I mean, come on, let's be real. All that said, this doesn't mean there isn't room for legitimate concern when it comes to this game. The company behind Palworld doesn't have the best reputation. Their previous games look suspiciously reminiscent of other IPs. They seem to have a habit of leaving their games unfinished. Plus, they have been accused of using AI to design some of the game due to the higher-ups admitting to being pro-AI or something. Like with all things in this industry, we'll have to wait and see. The Pokemon Company did release a statement saying they are looking into it, but that's all we got for now. I think that was partly to get the fanboys to stop trying to send them bullshit, but who knows what will come of this. Speaking of bullshit, we did have a few showcases. First was the CES event, which Sony was a part of. Now, this isn't strictly a gaming event, so it's not like we expected to see anything interesting, but man, look how they massacred my girl cat. We like games, Sony, not shitty live-action adaptations. Did you forget your system is called PlayStation? Anyway, the next showcase that was actually worth talking about was the Xbox Developer Direct, which went on for 45 minutes of mostly developers telling us about the games rather than showing us. But we did get some new footage of 5 games. Hellblade 2 and Indiana Jones I don't give a singular fuck about, to be honest, but I was very interested in the game Avowed. But what they showed us made me lose all hope for it. The combat looks awful. It might just be a demonstration and will end up being better when we actually get our hands on it, but still, poor showing. There was also a surprise show of the new Visions of Mana game, which looks as you'd expect, I guess. I have no nostalgia for the Mana series, but I did like the Trials of Mana remake, so I'll be keeping my eye on it for sure. but the one that looked the best to me was actually Ara History Untold, a historical strategy game that looks like a real step above some of the previous games I've seen in the genre, at least on the surface. It's a bit worrying that they disallow conversation about the game on the Steam community page though. In fact, it's kind of a red flag, but we'll see. Overall, the Xbox Developer Direct wasn't a terrible showcase like they usually are, as it kind of set our expectations beforehand, then gave us a little surprise by including the Mana game. But this is the only positive Xbox gets for this video because, well, stay tuned. Before we get to that, there was one more important showcase, that being the PlayStation State of Play. And of course it had to be on the fucking 31st. God damn it, Sony, making this video difficult for me. And it was a decent showing, I guess. They showed off a good number of games, but most of them were things we've already heard about, and a lot of them had nothing to do with PlayStation, like the one announcement that got my attention, a remaster of Sonic Generations with some new Shadow the Hedgehog content, so they're making it for me specifically. But anyway, most of the stuff they showed looked alright. There wasn't anything at the showcase that looked bad, so I can't really complain all that much. Now, back to Xbox. God damn it, Xbox. You always take one step forward and 5 steps back whenever you're in the headlines. Well, this one is small news, but apparently all that bending over backwards to get Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox last year was hardly worth it, since they're banning people for recording certain lewd sequences in the game. For some reason, when you record or take a screenshot, it automatically shares it with people, by default. Why would you do that? So people were unwittingly getting themselves banned for unintentionally sharing parts of a game that Microsoft sells on their own storefront. See the bit of irony in this? Moving on to a more shitty story, Microsoft is putting the last nail in the coffin of their physical games, and going all digital, as it's being reported that they are shutting down internal departments that work on bringing physical games to retail stores and whatnot. So say goodbye to the one singular thing that differentiated Xbox from PC. Now their consoles are just objectively worse lockdown PCs. Literally 0 reasons to get an Xbox now. This pretty much confirms that whatever systems Xbox release going forward will be digital only. On a related note, we have an Ubisoft executive putting his foot in his mouth, sort of, saying that gamers need to get more comfortable with not owning their games. He's technically not wrong though, as most of the games you buy now, you don't own. We're kinda already there, especially if you buy digital. You don't own any of that shit. Stop buying digital on consoles, just saying. But anyway, the resounding response to this executive has basically been, well, you should get more comfortable with us pirating your games then. And I'm with you guys on that one, to be honest. There's so many games out there, I don't need your Ubi slop. The amount of money I'll spend on a game I don't own is significantly lower than whatever your asking price is. I just wish more gamers had this mindset. Now, a couple of months back, I talked about Capcom being utter boomers when it comes to mods, because they apparently freaked the fuck out over someone accidentally leaving a nude Chun-Li mod on during a major tournament. Oh no, the horror. It went viral of course, but people mostly just laughed at it and moved on with their day. But to them, it was a grave sin. A calamity of great offense to their public image. So they thought it was a bright idea to introduce anti-tamper DRM to their back catalog of older games. And this resulted in some of the games not working properly for some people, including on the Steam Deck. And it also resulted in a lot of them getting negatively review bombed, deservedly so. It's insane how out of touch they can be with their own audience. Capcom, you've attained Crapcom status once again. You were doing so well for the past couple of years or so, and now I don't even want to buy Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, this news is a bit of a doozy. I talked about localization last month and how the so-called professionals in the localization scene are scared of AI taking their jobs. Well, I'd tell them that they need to be better than the AI for one, but I don't think they ever will, as there was an interesting article about localization from the Japan Times recently that gave a bit of insight on how the localization process happens, which pretty much confirmed that straight up censorship is an integral part of the localization process and has been since it began. Any game that has been localized has been censored or altered in some way, and Japan seems to be completely hands-off about it all. Not only that, these localizers have been influencing things on the Japanese side, convincing them to tone certain things down for Western audiences at the source. Who the fuck ever asked for this? I don't want some scumbags from California dictating what I can and cannot see in video games. It's that simple. Fuck all of you people. Localization equals censorship, period.
I never asked for this.
Well, after all that bullshit, let's wrap things up nicely with something a bit more wholesome and positive. You might have seen this already, but check this out.
Oh my god! Oh. Yes! Oh my god!
If you don't know what happened there, this 13-year-old who goes by the name Blue Scooty on YouTube and elsewhere became the first person recorded to actually beat the original NES Tetris game, I think. In order to do that, he had to max out his score and keep going until the game locks up with the right conditions, commonly known as a kill screen. I believe Pac-Man has one too, and probably a ton of others, but yeah, congrats to this champ. But with that said, as nothing in this world of gaming can ever be totally positive, this leads us into the worst take of the month. Take it away, Boomer.
Well, 13-year-old American Willis Gibson has technically proven that wrong. He beat the original Nintendo version of the game by reaching such a high level that the coding froze. That left the program unable to generate any more falling blocks. As a mother, I would just say step away from the screen, go outside, get some fresh air. Beating Tetris is not a life goal. Speaking of fresh air, let's get a look at the weather.
Bitch, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Holy shit! How can you be so unbearably smug and shit on a 13-year-old kid's good day? Like, what the unprofessional fuck? Like, if she had said that shit to me, I don't know, I'd probably just be like, yeah, fuck off. But I can't help but get a little defensive of this young guy. Go outside, get some fresh air, she says. Bitch, it's the middle of fucking January. And you say Tetris isn't a life goal, like, no shit. Neither is being a cunt and a professional, dishonest propagandist to the public, like all these shitty news stations like yours are. God damn, what else do I even need to say? Well, it's true that she wasn't the only one poo-pooing on this kid's accomplishment on the internet. In fact, you can probably find a bunch of people doing the same thing if you look hard enough. But it had to have been her unbridled arrogance that caused her to go more viral than anyone else.
Shut the fuck up. Stop being a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. Nobody even wants you here.
Alright. Time to move on to the releases, and holy shit, there's way more interesting things coming out than I expected for this time of the year. And I also missed quite a lot for January, so strap in, because there will probably be something that'll interest you. First, on January 12th, Crystal Story Dawn of Dusk came out, a 2D pixel action RPG inspired by some of the classics, and seemingly Undertale. This definitely looks inspired by Undertale. On January 17th, Dominion 6, Rise of the Pantokrator came out. A very in-depth fantasy strategy game with graphics reminiscent of the old PC days. Looks kinda charming, I have to admit. Also on January 17th, Immortal Life came out of early access, a Chinese farming and life simulator inspired by Chinese history and mythology. Just in case you needed yet another one of these. We got another one on January 17th, and it's completely free. Test, a small retro-style detective-themed puzzle game. Can't go wrong with free. On January 24th, Anomaly Agent came out to some very positive reception. Nice. It's a flashy 2D action platformer set in a cyberpunk world with some slick combat and a goofy-ass main character. We got another Vampire Survivors-like called Core Devourer on January 25th, though this one looks like it plays like a twin-stick shooter, so there's a bit more to it than just walking around until everything is dead. Or you are. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth came out on January 25th. You probably already have it if you're a fan of the series. Sadly, it seems like Sega was one of the companies that signed off on that localization article I brought up earlier, so hopefully this game doesn't suffer too much from that. They did lock New Game Plus behind a paywall though, so what the fuck.
'Cause fuck 'em, that's why.
Once again on January 25th, the Metroidvania Rin the Last Child finally came out to mixed reception. RIP. I was looking forward to this one. Maybe I'll still play it, I don't know. On January 31st or February 1st, I don't know, maybe dependent on your region, which is why I saved this one. But it should be out if you're watching this video, so if you've been looking forward to this grand JRPG that's been teased for years at this point, Granblue Fantasy Relink is finally out. There you go. 4-player co-op too. You love to see it. Moving on to actual February releases, we have legendary Hoplite, a strategy RPG tower defense roguelite thingy inspired by ancient Greece. Looks kinda like a mobile game, but I guess it isn't, so maybe it'll be better than that. On February 7th, we got another Touhou spin-off. Touhou Danmaku Kagura Phantasia Lost is a long-titled rhythm game featuring a bunch of music from across the Touhou series, and Toby Fox? Okay then. On February 13th, we have a game inspired by the legendary, wondrous masterpiece Zelda CD Trilogy RZ, the Jewel of Faramore.
Great! I can't wait!
If only it was being published by someone better than Limited Run Games. On February 13th, Islands of Insight comes out, an incredibly beautiful and seemingly extensive puzzle and exploration game. This one's right up my alley, just saying. I think it was one of the few games from the summer showcases last year that got my attention. Another one for February 13th, Lysfanga, the Time Shift Warrior, a top-down hack-and-slash action game with some interesting time-shifting mechanics. Not your typical button-masher hack-and-slash, that's for sure. Yet another one on February 13th, we have Ultros, an insane-looking acid trip of a Metroidvania with an art style that's out of this world. Maybe I should play this on stream so we can make more jokes about drugs like we did with Mario Wonder. Dungeon Travelers 2 Heart 2 in Another World comes to Steam on February 14th, and honestly, this whole thing is confusing me. It seems like a remake of a PSP game that was previously Japan only, but I don't know for sure because I can't find info on it reliably. Anyway, lewd weeb dungeon crawler RPG thing. On February 15th, Smalland Survive the Wilds comes out of early access, an open world survival crafting game with a twist. You are tiny, and the tiny creatures of our world are very large compared to you. On February 16th, we have the meme game of the month, Epstein, a parody survival game about the island. Though this game certainly looks like it could just be an asset flip that isn't worth it, but maybe that's what the globalists want you to think. The Thaumaturge comes out on February 20th, an isometric RPG inspired by 20th century Poland, with what looks like a lot of branching paths throughout the story, though things aren't quite so black and white in this one. On February 21st, Last Epoch comes out of early access, another top-down style action RPG that seems to be an answer to Blizzard's failings with Diablo. Will this finally pry the last remaining fools clinging to that dead franchise? Probably not. I might try it though. Now, for a blast from the past, we have Slave Zero X, set in the universe of the 1999 game Slave Zero. This one is a mix of spectacle fighter and beat 'em up, like a mix of Guilty Gear and Double Dragon or something like that. And it looks hard as fuck, for a scrub like me at least. On February 22nd, yeah boy, we got another adults-only game that looks really good, Future Fragments. Thankfully, the trailer is YouTube friendly, so I can actually show it this time. This one's a Metroidvania, so it's right up my alley. And my ass. Now for something the complete opposite, we have the super wholesome Garden Life A Cozy Simulator, also on February 22nd. Like you need me to tell you what this is, it's all in the title. Also on February 22nd, we have, say it with me folks, another one. The Tribe Must Survive, a base building survival game with horror elements. How long can you keep them alive? It's a leap year, so we have some games for February 29th, starting with Goblin Slayer, Another Adventurer Nightmare Feast. Seriously, stop it with these long-ass titles, Japan. Anyway, this is a strategy RPG similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, it seems, based on the Goblin Slayer franchise. The next game on February 29th is Perry Nightmare, a wacky-as-hell bullet horde game that looks similar to Vampire Survivors in some ways, but one of the main mechanics being parrying their attacks, I guess. Looks weird as shit, not gonna lie. And altogether now, another one on February 29th, The Brew Barons, a simulation game where you craft your brews and hop into a plane to deliver them around the land, all while fighting off sky pirates. All's part of a day's honest work. And that's it. 27 games for the time of year that's usually pretty slow. Maybe 2024 won't be so bad after all. Unless you were looking forward to that Suicide Squad game, holy shit, what a dumpster fire that thing is.
It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic. No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.
But anyway, thanks for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more, share the video around, leave a comment on what you think of any of this nonsense, and don't forget to check out my other content including my past RNG videos, Smash videos, and countdown videos, like my Best Games of 2023 video, as well as my recently released Top 100 Songs in the Trail series, if you're into that kind of thing. Follow me on the Twitter or X if you want to see me post absolutely nothing, or follow me on Rumble or Odyssey if you want to watch my stuff outside of YouTube. And as always with this ridiculous industry, have high standards, low expectations.